This is Navonod. Welcome to Navonod versus Scott. This is a match that I played at NL10. We have 3 back-to-back sit-and-goes. I think I'm going to be able to make it through 1, maybe 2 in this video. So we're looking for potential leaks that we can exploit, and we're looking for also things that maybe we being I, could have done differently, that maybe would have been better. Okay, so here we have a check back, and when we check back, this is the very first time that he's not c-bet the flop, and I do like to go ahead and fire at the turn very often, but in this case I think if we'd known in the early stages, if we'd known right off the bat that he did play pretty well, that we would have known in that instance to either bet the turn and the river, or just to give up, because when he checks back, he's doing so with showdown value hands, with the intention of bluff catching at least one street. So I think that would have been a good, and plus if we know that he's checking back his bluff catchy showdown value type hands, then we can put a lot of ace-x in his range, and the turn was an ace, so probably not going to be very scary to him. Okay, so he limps here, and I think checking or raising are both okay, and this looks like a perfectly good board to just stab once at. If he doesn't have a heart or a pair, he's pretty much just going to have to surrender, and as long as we've got like half the size of the pot, it doesn't have to get through that often, so I'll stand by that. Standard raise here, Queen 7 suited. We could potentially consider checking back here, but I think it's a spot where I'm going to c-bet most of the time. We do have to worry about what hands are we getting value from when we bet the flop. You could say there's a lot of draws that you'll get value from, but how do we feel if we get check raised? So a little trickier spot than it probably looked like. And what's interesting is that river spot right there. I think that that was a pretty strange check on his part. So we have to start thinking, like, why is he doing that? Why did he not bet trips on the river? And usually it's going to be one of two things. Either he didn't think it was a good spot to value bet, like it was too thin to value bet, or he expected that he'd make more money by checking and inducing a bluff. I don't think that either of those are true. I think it was a mistake on his part. So that's one leak that I think in Scott's game that I feel like I exposed a leak, is that he is not betting thin enough for value on the river, and or he's checking, trying to induce more than he probably ought to be. And I think this would have been, and this is another leak, well, no, that wasn't an example of it, but another leak is I think that he wasn't constructing his showdown value ranges quite as well as he could have. I think I'll bring that back up when I see a kind of a more pure and better example of it. Okay, so 4-3. I think it's close. I'm real happy that he limps here. Okay, and now we can lead, we can check, and I think leading is fine. Now we have a decision to make. Do we want to barrel, kind of just turn our hand into a bluff and hope that if he does call, we either improve or we find a good card to bet? And I think the 5 is kind of a sketchy card. He maybe doesn't expect us to bet the flop with the 5, and probably doesn't expect us to bet flop and turn with the 5. So when that river came a 5, I don't think it does us any good to try to rep that against a player that can read hands at all. I think it's okay to check here or to bet here. Going back to the thing about draws, I mean, if a big chunk of the hands you expect you could get value from are draws, and you expect the player's good enough to be check raising a lot of his draws, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to bet, especially with a hand that is only a middle pair. But it's a middle pair that is, it's a second pair, and it's a second pair that is going to stay second pair. In other words, we're not worried about the turn card coming off and making, well, devaluing our hand to like third pair. It's hard to keep up with all this. So yeah, Ace-3 offsuit, obviously we're raising, and I think we can check this back, or we can bet it. Either is fine. He's not been really punishing me for checking back too often, so I think checking back gets the nod. In other words, when I check back, I think he does realize that I probably have a lot of showdown value, like ace-high type hands, but he's not been going way out of his way to exploit that. He's not been like bombing turns and then bombing rivers also when he sees me check back the flop, which also could be a little weak in his game. 9-2 offsuit, I don't think is good enough to open. If you've opened a limping range, then maybe you can try to limp it just because of the immediate pot odds and position. But I have not been, I don't think I ever opened a limping range against this particular opponent. 10-6 off is an obvious open raise. And here I think we've got pretty clear continuation bet. And I think we've got a pretty good opportunity to barrel. I'd like to see me barrel here. Yeah, and I think that's a good bet. Good. I do rep the, and another bet I think should take this down quite often. I think we may as well go all in. I hope to see myself go all in. Okay, the smaller bet size I think is fine too. Making it like almost all in would have been pretty bad. Yeah, and raising with a pair of threes seems okay. Clear value bet here. We wanna try to extract value from the draws, and we don't mind getting check raised here and just getting it in on the flop. So when the board's heavy, draw heavy, I think it's good to polarize your C bets quite a bit. Especially against a competent opponent who we expect is going to be aggressive enough to check raise at least a lot of their draws. I'm fine with this. We're going to find lots of good turn cards to barrel. I think this is one of them. And now I think we just check and hope to go to showdown and hope to win at showdown. If he bets here, I don't think we win, really, ever. Because it's hard for him to be bluffing the way the hand played out. So unless he turns like a medium to kind of, unless he actually turns a showdown value type hand, a hand that has some showdown value, into a bluff, which most players just don't do, and certainly don't do often enough. Okay, and I think we've got another clear check back here. And again, I think we just check and go to showdown. I don't know what else we do. If we bet, we might get looked up by the occasional queen, but then we're also going to be beat on occasion. And just checking, going to showdown seems best there. Yeah, I think keeping the pot small would be okay, or raising. They're both fine options. I think more than anything at this point in the match, I was kind of testing his limping range and trying to figure out what he was doing. So this was the first match. We played 3 matches, and I told him I was recording, and he played 3 matches, so I said that I would do kind of an analysis video. And in this first match, I'm concentrating on my play, mostly, and maybe in the second match, I'll try to focus in more on what I think he could have done better. And here, for one thing, just game flow makes me want to just check, because I have been raising quite a bit. Now he checks back the flop. It's pretty hard for him to rep the flush, so I actually prefer, yeah, the line I took, and then once I get counterfeit on the river, it's going to be just a check fold. This is kind of interesting. Yeah, I think checking back is fine. I mean, we're going to want to have some non-air that we check back on that flop. And so that seems to be about the right type of hand to use. We'd hate to get check raised off our equity. Not real easy to get second best to call. And I like this line better compared to trying to check and induce, because he's not been aggressive enough against my checks on the flop for me to feel confident in inducing. And here, we could arguably have just tried to get it in on the turn, or just, well, at least raise on the turn. This is a tough spot. We're getting odds, but we haven't seen him bluff much. It doesn't seem that he's bluffing much. And we're basically just bluff catching. So I think it's a fold. Pretty grossed out considering how good the turn was, how good a shape we were in, I should say, on the turn. Flush draw plus 2 pair. But as played, I stand by my fold. Pretty clear bet with the up and down straight draw plus overcard. Checking or raising, either one I think is okay with a hand like Queen 9. I think I prefer raising because it should do real good against the hands that he would limp with on his button and then call a raise with. I expect him to do that if he's going to do that with hands like, medium suited connectors that I dominate a lot of. We can check because we have showdown value. We're also not worried about that many bad cards that are going to destroy our hand. And I think our hand is pretty well disguised when we do bink the club on the end. I don't think it's good that he... I mean, in that particular instance, in that hand, he saved himself money. But I think overall he should have done something aggressive at some point in that hand. And I was banking on it. Maybe he picked something up game flow-wise. Checking and calling on the flop seems fine. And I would fold here, but the price we're getting is makes it pretty close. And now this is going to be a check fold, unless you just like to stick the showdown. Not real surprised to see that bet, and it looks to me like he was betting the turn to stay in the lead so that I checked the river and he could, just check it back and go to showdown. This is kind of a showdown bet, but I mean, actually, it was pretty well what I wanted to have happen anyway. I got to get the showdown with my pair of 7s for just one small bet. So I don't really think those showdown bets and raises are usually a very good strategic option. I think this is close. Betting is certainly fine. I think the less often he's actually check raising my c-bets, the better betting in a situation like that becomes. And he hasn't been punishing me with like a lot of check raises. Okay, so he checks back that flop and then just gives up on a 4 turn. I think that's probably a leak. I think he should have been c-betting that flop or checking back with something that's going to be able to fight back or continue on the turn. Yeah, I'm definitely fine just checking here. And, I don't mind a lead here. Yeah, I think now we definitely should lead. We should definitely bet the turn here. And in fact, if he calls, I think that's interesting. His line doesn't really make that much sense to me. Maybe he has... I don't know why he would be checking back. Like maybe a 7-4 or exactly pocket 4s. Maybe. Seems kind of fishy. I think if I would have had something a little bit stronger than a gut shot, like maybe a flush draw or open-ended straight draw, gut shot with 2 overcards, something like that, then I would have been more inclined to fight back against what looks like a polarized and bluff-heavy range that checks the flop back and then raises the turn on what was not a real scary card. think we just c-bet here. I mean, we do actually have 2 overcards to the 4, and I mean, we're definitely gonna have like a lot of opportunity to fold out better hands, and I think even there might be some chances for us to bet the flop and then barrel some turn cards. If we don't, like, say we don't get check raised and it's like 5 of clubs, then we could go ahead and continue, well, or an ace of clubs. Might even be better. Yeah, I like this bet. I don't remember this match. Now, normally I'm not one to just barrel away without improving my equity, and I guess I did pick up a gut shot, but I think that would have been a spot where my hand was almost irrelevant. I mean, I was really just kind of playing against my opponent's range. It's always nice to pick up a gut shot, but I did not probably weigh heavily on my decision-making process. 8-4 offsuit, I think can be an open, can be a fold, and if I had an open limping range, it would be the kind of thing I would try to sneak into my open limping range, but probably against a decent player. Oh, here I go, trying to sneak in a limp. I don't mind this. I mean, I think that a player, especially while we're having a conversation over there, I think he's going to play pretty honestly. And I mean, people can be afraid of traps, like when it's the first time you've limped. So I don't mind just kind of trying to get in cheap in position with a crap hand and hoping to do what I did. Just win with a c-bet if he checks the flop. Or, you know, every once in a while you get lucky and catch a flop. But in general, it's not going to be a hand that I'm going to be just open limping with, unless I've got a balanced open limping range that's got some strong stuff in it. When he shows, I just show. It's something I do a lot. For one, it's polite, and we want to get action, right? And another thing is, I feel like against most players, I'm going to be able to process the information better than I feel like better than they're going to be able to process whatever information we gain. And I'm pretty happy to just stick it in here, although, to sort of like stop and go, but I also would have been fine check raising, check bounding. But that's a spot where I had a gut shot plus top pair, I think, and a lot of turn cards would have been bad for my range, or for my hand, for my range. And it would have possibly made for some tricky spots if I would have checked and called, or if I would have just checked and he checked back. So either just leading or check jamming, I think were best there. I probably felt like I wouldn't have had enough fold equity to check jam, so I decided just to donk shove. Not real sure what I was thinking about here. Maybe doing something crafty. But if we're going to do crafty things some of the time and not all of the time, if we're going to get aggressive, we may as well choose hands that have some chance of winning if we do get called. And that wasn't one of them. Okay, and I guess I've decided to open a limping range, and this is a good type of hand when we're at this stack depth, I think. As long as we don't expect that he's going to be jamming over our limps very often. And definitely don't want to min-raise and get shoved on, so I'm okay with my limp here. Definitely c-betting here. Planning to barrel a ton of turn cards. Yeah, I think we just rip it in here. And I think he's making a pretty, really a kind of a mistake to really play any part of his range that way. With 7 big blinds, limp folding is probably not a great option. I would like to see myself limp here because I've been limping, and he may be getting suspicious of it. But I mean, in reality, he hasn't been real aggressive with his all-ins, and he hasn't been real aggressive pre-flop. He hasn't attacked my limps so far. So I guess probably just jamming kings is fine. Yeah, I think king queen is a better hand to just jam than to try to induce with. So right now I'm kind of critiquing my own play. In the next matches, I think I'll try to more critique Scott's play. I think this is pretty gross spot, but yeah, I mean, jamming just is, it's probably the bottom of my jam range. Like 5-10 offsuit, I'm probably not going to do that with. 10-5 suited, I probably would jam. I didn't stop and do the math on that, but I think that's fine. If it's fine to fold any hand, it's fine to fold that. It's close as to whether I had the odds to call it off with any two. Excuse me. Oh, terrible spot. So close. It's real close. I probably should bust out an equity calculator and figure out if this is a call or not. It probably is. I mean, if I knew he had a hand like ace-3 or something, it's a call. He could be doing it with any small pair. I guess, probably it's about break even. I mean, I doubt it's break even, but just, it seems about break even. It seems like he might be a little bit too tight. Maybe he's overly tight. Not sure why I didn't just jam. Probably that would have been the better play. I think. Maybe game flow. I was trying to get crafty. Yeah, and here we just shove and we hope for a fold. But if he calls, so be it. And, you know, with him folding there, no matter what hand he had, it was a pretty huge mistake, right? If he's making math mistakes, we're winning money, right? Bummer. Jeez. Yeah, it seems like when he's short, he might be playing a little bit tighter than GTO. Not real sure about this limp. And this c-bet looks pretty unconvincing to me. If I'm him, I just probably jam that flop when it comes out. Yeah. Even still, he maybe did not want to fold there. No, and we get the suck out. Okay, so that's match one. we're going to hopefully do a little bit more analysis on Scott's play then. I think that's kind of what I told him I was going to do. And until next time, which is, this is the beginning of the match here. But I think we're going to cut the video off here. We're over budget on time, so until next time, good luck. And Scott or anybody else, if you have any questions, post them, and I'll do my level best to get to them. Till next time, good quote, Luck, end quote.